Hi, I'm Joe Fagan, and welcome to this edition of Discover West Orange. This monthly program, sponsored by the Downtown West Orange Alliance, is dedicated to raising awareness and preserving our rich local history. Each March, the familiar green strip down Main Street comes alive, marking the route of the West Orange St. Patrick's Day Parade. Sunday, March 16, 2014, will mark the 63rd year for the annual event that has grown since 1976 to become an important part of town tradition today. The parade route along Main Street is lined with thousands of spectators from all backgrounds and several generations of family to help celebrate a day filled with Irish-American heritage proudly on display in West Orange. Often overlooked is the colorful history surrounding the parade and its humble beginnings. Most would be surprised to learn that the parade actually dates back over 60 years to two organizations which are still involved today. On today's show, we will take a closer look at the parade's history and will be joined in studio by the parade's chairman and a granddaughter of the parade's founder. We will even examine briefly a few historical locations along the parade route as we discover West Orange's proud Irish roots. Before we begin talking about the history of West Orange St. Patrick's Day Parade, we're joined in studio by Megan Brill. As I mentioned at the top of each show, this program is sponsored by the Downtown West Orange Alliance. Megan Brill is the executive director and joins us today to tell us a little about the Downtown West Orange Alliance and some programs they offer to downtown businesses. Megan, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Joe.
Megan, can you tell us a little bit about the Downtown West Orange Alliance and what its purpose is?
Our main purpose is to build and support business along the Main Street corridor.
And there's some programs that are available to downtown businesses that are sponsored by the Downtown West Orange Alliance. But before we talk about that, I just want to briefly mention about the Shop West Orange card. And now, what is this that you have here with us?
Oh, I actually have a copy of the card that residents can ask for. It's a credit card like that you keep in your wallet, or a keychain piece that you can put on your set of keys.
And what is the Shop West Orange program?
The Shop West Orange program is a marketing plan that businesses participate in, and as residents get cards and register them, they shop at the participating businesses and they earn tax rebates off their property taxes, or they can get a check at the end of the year if they choose to elect that way.
Now, this is a fairly new program, and only a few towns are really offering it. So West Orange is really on the cutting edge in terms of helping residents and businesses meet. And as I say, as you said, there's a benefit to West Orange residents where they can get off the top of their tax bill. How does one go about getting a card?
There's actually 3 ways you can obtain a card. You can email the chamber, westorangechamber.com. You can go to the mayor's office and get one from Sherry Quirk. You can also pick up a card from any of the merchants participating in the program. And
they'll have in front of the store a store cling that indicates they're a participant in the program?
Yes, there's a window cling, and you can also check out the app that we have, and that lists the stores on there as well.
Now, some of the other programs that the Downtown West Orange Alliance sponsored is matching facade grant programs. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Right. A large part of our budget goes back to each and every business and property owner in the form of facade grants. We reimburse up to $2,000, 50% up to $2,000 in any improvement that happens to their storefront, their signs, cleaning and maintenance of the front part of their stores.
Now, here's a picture of the 8 to 8 barbershop, and this is a great example.
Wait, that's a big awning.
That's a big awning, and now the West Orange Downtown Alliance has been participating in the cost of this of replacing this facade, correct?
Yes, we did.
And all a downtown business needs to do is contact you?
Absolutely.
Now, we also should mention that the downtown Main Street corridor actually extends from Valley Road, includes the Valley, St. Mark's, Torrey Corner, and Eagle Rock. How is the Downtown West Orange Alliance funded?
It's funded in part by assessments that are made against the property owners and money that's in our budget, as well as township contribution.
Now, I have up on the monitor here 80 Main Street. Now, 80 Main Street is significant in that it's the biggest contributor to the SID tax.
Yes, it is.
Along the corridor. And also might mention that there's a difference between the SID tax being applied to the business owner and the building owner. It goes to the building owner, not to the business owner.
Right,
to
the property owner. The property owner pays the SID assessment whether their business is there or not. In this case, 80 Main, David Drill, who's one of the principals of Drill Construction, and they own that building, he's on our board and has been on our board for about 8 years.
Now, here's a very unexciting picture of a garbage can along Main Street, but I included this for the reason that, you know, these garbage cans have to come from someplace and they have to be maintained. Can you tell us a little bit about the garbage cans along Main Street?
The garbage cans were our responsibility when we decided to create a SID assessment. The garbage cans and the garbage removal along Main Street became the responsibility of the Downtown Alliance. This garbage can just was newly painted, and they were really pretty scuzzy looking when about a year ago. So we figured out a way to paint the garbage cans and make them look a lot nicer on Main Street.
It helps beautify Main Street, and let's also say that hopefully for the St. Patrick's Day Parade they will be used, and I understand that you have more of them that will be on Main Street, so they'll certainly, if they're used, it will lessen the impact of cleaning up after the parade. Finally, I just want to give the contact information for the Downtown West Orange Alliance. And it's 66 Main Street, which of course is the same address of Town Hall. And you can email mbrill@westorange.org to receive any further information about anything that you've seen on the show today, or any questions you might have concerning the Shop West Orange program. Megan, thank you so much for joining us on the show today. It's a pleasure working with you.
To task with some tidbits and some good jokes or some Irish little fun facts. So by all means, please let our viewers know anything that you may have to share also.
Well, very quickly, Maureen, the State Police pipe band wears their traditional top or jacket, which is the state police, part of the state police uniform, and they wear a plain blue kilt. Now, a lot of people don't realize this, but the plaid kilts are really of Scottish origin. The plain kilts are really of Irish origin.
Very good. You're getting the hang of this.
Okay, we have John, his wife Ann, of his wife of almost 30 years, and in back of him, his 3 daughters who are his chief of staff. That's Lacey, Melissa, and Jacqueline. And he's smiling, and he's the happiest man in West Orange today.
The route of the St. Patrick's Day Parade along Main Street contains a West Orange historic location practically every step of the way. I would like to point out just a few of them for added interest to parade goers. These are in no order of importance, and I mostly just chose these because I could find good pictures of the locations. 252 Main Street at the corner of Irwin Place was home to one of 2 movie theaters once located in West Orange. As seen in the contemporary picture, the former lobby has been demolished and removed, and only the large main structure remains. In this picture from the 1930s, you can see where the lobby was in the front of the building. The name of the theater has been known as the Llewellyn, the Windsor, and as seen here, the Edison, and once featured a 1,000-seat auditorium. The theater was renovated in 1957 to accommodate large shows and was known at various times as the Suburban Playhouse, West Orange Playhouse, the Suburban Cinema, and the Suburban Theater. The last performance featured Toys in the Attic in August of 1963. After it closed, it became the Admiral Benbow Inn and later the Canterbury Street Disco. It has been purchased by the Community House and will be renovated for their purposes shortly. Directly next to the old movie theater building is the West Orange Community House. The main structure of the house was first constructed in 1846 by William Reeves as a home for his family. The Reeves family, however, only lived there for 5 years. In 1851, the house was sold to the Babcock family, who lived there for the next 30 years. The street of Babcock Place is named for this family. Seen here is an older picture from 1916 of the community house. After the Babcock family, the home had several owners. In 1918, it was eventually purchased by Mrs. Farm Yardley, wife of a former West Orange mayor. Mrs. Yardley organized the West Orange Community League in 1919, replacing the West Orange Improvement Society. Both organizations were social-minded organizations intended to help the less fortunate in the community. It was Mrs. Yardley who presented the house to the West Orange Community League in 1919 to be used as a community center. Thus was born the West Orange Community House as we know it today. The first resident director was Miss Trebby Moore, and the house has undergone several renovations since its founding. If you take a closer look at the sign hanging in the picture next to the door, you can see a variety of services that were available at the community house, which also apparently included a small library. Perhaps knowing this history gives us a better understanding as to the origin of its name. When the township of West Orange was formed in 1863, it had no public schools. The first school for West Orange was built in 1865 and was named the St. Mark's School, used for all grades. It was not associated with the church and was located on Main Street near the Llewellyn Park entrance. It consisted of several classrooms on the first floor, with a large room on the second floor known as Llewellyn Hall. This school hall also was used for many years for town meetings and other community and social gatherings. The school was used to 1912 when the new Fairmont School opened. St. Mark's was converted to a vocational school in 1914 and used until it was destroyed by a fire in 1926. Across the street from that Lafayette Playground was the first site of the first ever football game between West Orange High School and Livingston High School in October of 1903. West Orange defeated Livingston 17-0, and the Livingston team chartered a horse-drawn stagecoach to come to the game. Of course, everyone is familiar with the iconic image of West Orange. Thomas Edison purchased the property at the corner of Main Street and Lakeside Avenue in 1887. Here he built a 3-story brick building to house his laboratory, which still stands today. Other buildings and factories were eventually added, and today this building is part of the Edison National Historic Site operated by the United States National Park Service. Edison was a great inventor and a visionary, and in this picture there's actually a green fence around the laboratory. Perhaps this was a tribute to the St. Patrick's Day Parade that would pass by there in later years. So as you enjoy the St. Patrick's Day Parade this year, give some thought to the history that lives along the parade route on Main Street. When we return from the break, we will be joined in studio by Joe Ryan, chairman of the St. Patrick's Day Committee, and himself a former Grand Marshal of the parade in 2007. Also joining us will be Maureen O'Hara, granddaughter of Frank O'Hara, who is one of the parade's original founders. Maureen is also involved in the planning of the parade and chairperson as well. We'll be back in a moment.
Hi, I'm Megan Brill, Executive Director with the Downtown West Orange Alliance. We're very excited to be sponsoring Joe Fagan's TV show, Discover West Orange. We hope that you'll learn something more about Main Street and come back and enjoy some of the great things we have to offer downtown.
We're joined in the studio here by Maureen O'Hara, whose grandfather, Frank O'Hara, was one of the original founders of the parade, and of course Joe Ryan, who was the current chairman of the parade. Maureen, your grandfather was a founding member of the parade. Can you tell us a little bit about how that came to be?
Sure. My grandfather, along with the Irish American Society of the Oranges, 2 organizations that were participants down in Newark, decided to start a parade up here. And they were the 2 founding organizations who are still involved today in running the parade in West Orange.
And that's the Frank O'Hara Association?
It'd be the Frank O'Hara Association.
And the Irish American
Society of the Oranges, yep.
Now, members from both organizations would meet in West Orange, and they would parade on the sidewalk along Main Street from Our Lady of Lourdes Church, and that really is the the genesis for the St. Patrick's Day
Yeah,
Parade?
they would march from Our Lady of Lourdes down to where the town hall is today. They would hop on buses and head down to Newark to march in their parade. And that's where the true beginning was until 1976, when we decided to formalize the parade in West Orange and march then from Town Hall up to Our Lady of Lourdes, and that's the parade as you know it today.
Now, here's a slide. This is your grandfather's liquor store, because he was certainly a West Orange resident and a West Orange business owner, and he helped organize the original St. Patrick's Day Parade in Newark in 1936, and he was a business owner here in West Orange. Do you have any recollection of him as a business owner?
Sure. I know that he ran liquor stores and had a bar in West Orange. I believe all of his 9 children used to work there and participate, so he reared his family there. I was probably about 5 when he did pass away, but I do remember those early years going into the house, shaking his hand, and him working. We would be taken in, once in a while we'd go to these places.
Now, the first St. Patrick's Day parade, organized parade, was in 1976. This here is a slide from 1975. This actually would predate the official St. Patrick's Day parade in West Orange. This is what you were speaking about earlier, when they would march down Main Street on their way to Town Hall. They're actually on their way to the Newark parade. There's a few people here that I certainly recognize. To the left, that's Father Walsh, and of course there's Sam Spina, and all the way to the right, that's Mr. Kehoe with the top hat and cane. But one individual I do want to point out here, just directly behind Sam Spina, is the young boy with the checkered pants, and that's Tommy Sharkey. I know that's Tommy Sharkey because I grew up across the street from him, and he has the distinction of both his mother and father were Grand Marshals of the parade. What were the unique circumstances about his mother being the parade Grand Marshal? Can you tell us a little bit about that, Joe?
Yeah, actually, she was the very first woman to be Grand Marshal of our parade, and that was in, I forget the year, but back in
78 maybe?
Yeah,
79, I think it was.
79. Right.
Now, she was the first woman to be Grand Marshal in the St. Patrick's Day Parade, but I also believe that she has the distinction of being the first woman Grand Marshal in any parade in New Jersey.
Wow.
Do you
That
know?
I have heard that. Yes, that's true.
And her daughter Carol is very involved now in running.
Carol is
our
an
parade.
active member of the
Yeah.
committee and has been vice chairman and chairman.
And chairman, yeah. Yep. And currently financial secretary.
Now, here's a picture from 1976, and this is with West Orange Mayor James Sheeran, with the sash in the center, certainly waving to the crowd. And you can see the kids are involved. There's that even might look like Brendan Byrne in the picture. I'm not entirely sure. Joe, were you involved in the parade at this point?
No, I was not involved back at this time. I joined in the 90s. I was involved, got involved then. I was in town, but not involved in the parade at that time.
But it's good to know, though, that back then and today, we're known as the family parade, and you have kids and you have family members that were involved originally and still running and involved today.
Well, that has
nice.
always impressed me about the St. Patrick's Day Parade in West Orange is, of course, being a longtime resident, you see the same families and different generations, grandsons and granddaughters, coming back to the parade and celebrating the Irish tradition.
We're certainly not the state's largest, but we have a reputation for being the most family-friendly parade.
Definitely.
I'm very
It's
proud
not
of
the
it.
oldest parade in New Jersey either.
No.
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 I believe Newark might be.
Now, Joe, you're part of the St. Patrick's Day Parade Committee here, and the picture here is actually not in West Orange. I think you mentioned you're marching in the Nutley St.
Yes,
Patrick's Day
we,
Parade.
as a parade committee, we actively participate in all the Essex County parades, and actually one in Marshtown parade. So we all march in those parades as well, displaying our banner and promoting the parade here in West Orange.
Now, this is a picture from 1978, and this is the first parade committee. And left to right here, you have Joe Brennan, Gerard Keogh, Patrick Melvin, Joe Keeney, and Alfie Sharkey. Now, Patrick Melvin, at the foot of Eagle Rock Avenue there, it's Patrick Melvin Plaza, if I'm not mistaken, right, Eagle Rock. He was the first parade chairman, and he's credited with helping make the St. Patrick's Day Parade what it is today. Can you speak a little bit to that?
Oh, very definitely. He was involved in that first when they formed the corporation and wrote the charter. He was chairperson, and then he assumed the role of adjutant later, and is known as a very strict taskmaster. Allowed no nonsense in the parade and had the parade running very tightly all the time.
And he has since passed away, Patrick Melvin?
Yes.
Yep.
And I also noticed in reviewing some of the parade history that the early parades were dedicated to the memory of Archbishop Bolin. And I see now that Patrick Melvin's name is sharing that
Yes.
with Archbishop Bolin.
The parade is now, and occasionally the parade is dedicated to an individual that may have been a significant contributor who passed in the past year. In fact, this year we are dedicating the parade to two very key members. One is Frank Darcy, who was there at the beginning with Frank O'Hara and forming the parade, and the other is Gregory Dillon, who passed away just this year. He was deputy in 1992 and Grand Marshal in 2012. So this year's parade will be dedicated to those two individuals.
You have an incredible memory, Joe. I'm sure one year just must blend into the other.
It all
with the
does.
St. Patrick's.
I'm impressed.
It just all turns green after a while. Now here we're looking at the, or tell us what this is, Joe. This is, certainly recognize this as Our Lady, the inside of Our Lady of Lourdes Church.
Yes, this is inside Our Lady of Lourdes, and that's the Essex Shillelagh Pipe and Drum Band, and they are actively involved each year in the parade mass, which is a big part of the day. The day begins with a mass at the church, and we rotate that mass between churches in town. We go to Our Lady of Lourdes, Our Lady of the Valley, St. Joseph's, and we also go to Our Lady of the Lake in Verona.
So it rotates. It
Rotates year to year in one of the churches.
Now, Maureen, this is the beginning of the day, but there's also an investor ceremony. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yes, 2 weeks prior to the parade, usually 2 weeks. This year it's 3. We gather at Mayfair Farms for a cocktail party, and it's the time of the year where the sashes are given to each of the honorees, and they're inducted in as the Deputy Grand Marshal and the Grand Marshal. And it's probably one of the nicer events of the parade season because it deals with really, it's very personal, and it's the family, and each of the honorees get up and say a little something, and it's pretty much the start of kind of the season.
So
of
it
2
certainly
weeks
adds
prior.
to the family atmosphere of the parade.
Yep.
Very quickly, we'll go through a few slides here. Now, this is Jerry Cole, and he's the 2004 Grand Marshal of this year's parade.
This year's Grand Master,
Yep.
yes.
And we have a couple pictures here. This is Tim Quigley. He was the Grand Marshal from 2004. And we also have a picture here of Frank Gately and his wife Maureen. He was the Grand Marshal in 2009. And I love looking at the pictures and seeing the family involved and the youngsters. And one thing that struck me about this picture is the price of gas. It's $1.69, and that was only in 2009.
5 years ago.
Now, we also have John Buey Sr. and John Buey Jr. This is from 1998, and he was a Deputy Grand Marshal. And John Buey, of course, is a police officer here in West Orange. And finally, this is a list of Grand Marshals. That's Tom Giblin and Jerry Cole, this year's Grand Marshal. And that's, of course, a nice, crisp spring day on Main Street. Let's hope we have good weather this year. And this list, as I say, shows Grand Marshals through 2008. Well, Maureen and Joe, I certainly want to thank you for coming in and joining us today and shedding some light on the St. Patrick's Day Parade. And hopefully the luck of the Irish will be with us, and we'll have good weather after a very, very horrible winter. Thanks so much for coming in
Thank
today.
you so much,
Thank you, Joe.
We appreciate
Very
it.
glad to be here.
Here's some of my contact information if you'd like to contact the show. If anyone would like to contact the show, you can do so online. Here is my email address. It's very simple to remember, Joseph Fagan, my name, @westorangehistory.com. Or if you prefer the old-fashioned way, you can contact me via the Downtown West Orange Alliance at 66 Main Street in West Orange, and of course that's the same address as West Orange Town Hall. Over the years, countless spectators have flocked to West Orange to witness firsthand the premier parade of the St. Patrick's Day season. Testimony to the growing successes of the diverse thousands who celebrate Irish heritage on a day when the Irish spirit captures everyone. The parade has become interwoven into the very fabric of the West Orange community and has passed from generation to generation as part of a continuing tradition. But don't take my word for it. Come and see for yourself. The 63rd Annual West Orange St. Patrick's Day Parade will once again make history on Sunday, March 16, 2014, as it steps off at 12:15 p.m. in front of Town Hall. For the West Orange Downtown Alliance, I'm Joe Fagan, and I'll see you on Main Street.